Well, we've got one very fantastic speaker coming up again for you, ladies and gentlemen, and he belongs to an industry where it's actually really difficult to make an unknown brand a household name. But that's exactly what he's done. So there's going to be a lot of takeaways from him as he speaks to us. We are honored to have Shariq Ashraf with us as a keynote speaker. In 2016, Shariq co-founded TGL Company, a premium tea and coffee brand, along with Bhumandani. His entrepreneurial journey continues as an investor and director on the board of Wicked Gud, a brand dedicated to making indulgent food healthier for India. There is a lot that Wicked Gud has gotten right when it comes to their marketing, their sales, and of course, making Wicked Gud a household brand in India. So please put your hands together for Shariq Ashraf as he takes us through essential steps to take an FMCG brand from invisible to omnipresent.
Hi, and good evening. Welcome to Borzo Connect. I am Shariq from Wicked Gud, the brand that aims to unjunk India by providing wholesome, nourishing food. And what I'd like to share with you today is our experience, our journey of taking a brand that didn't exist at all, and today making it omnipresent across all channels of sale, both online and offline. And how to do it? In just 5 steps. Not 5 easy steps, but 5 steps nevertheless. So, before I jump into the 5 steps, a very quick background on how we got thinking about creating a healthy brand. Bhuman's the founder of Wicked Gud. Bhuman and I, we started TGL, the Good Life company, a tea and coffee startup way back in 2016. We grew it for half a decade. In 21, we exited to strategic investors. And after an exit, you find yourself jobless. This was also a lockdown period, so you're sitting at home, jobless, wondering what do we do? And I distinctly remember we were on a video call because that's what you did in COVID, right, all the time. Slurping our 2-minute noodles, talking about what do we do next. And during the conversation, Bhuman was complaining, saying, I love these 2-minute noodles for multiple reasons. One, of course, is in lockdown, you don't have anyone to cook it for you, so you cook the easiest thing available. But the problem with this is every time you have it, you feel guilty because what you're having is it's inherently unhealthy. It's comfort food. You love it, but that vicious cycle of guilt kicks in. So I wish there was a way we could stop this cycle kicking in. And we said, you know what, that sounds like an ambitious project. Let's do that. Why don't we do a startup that takes all the comfort foods that we love and re-engineer it in a way that makes it healthy, nourishing, and wholesome. And we got all charged up saying, yes, let's do it. That's our goal, that's what we'll do. Until we did our market research and saw who the biggest players in this spaces were, right? And these aren't small names to go up against. So how do you, as a startup with very limited funding, compete against the massive Goliaths and make your brand present across all channels? That's what we're here to discuss. So step 1, at least for us, was to have a product worth selling, right? And this step starts with doing your R&D, having something unique, having something different, innovating, testing, and repeating. So you can see 3 layers of pasta, slightly different colored. We tackled pasta first because it was the easiest category. We reached out in the industry to experts such as Rinka Banerjee for assistance. She'd been the head of R&D for Unilever for 15 years. And we were eager for assistance, and you'd be surprised at how helpful a lot of the people out there are towards startups and towards founders. With her guidance, with her assistance, we took pasta and we said, what's wrong with pasta? 2 issues. One, of course, there are some pastas that are made with maida, and we know that's not good. The other is even when made with durum, it's very high in carbs, very low in protein, negligible fiber. So how do we re-engineer that? And that was a challenge we had. So we went at a grain level and we modified the flour content of pasta. We tried adding chickpeas, red lentils, green moong, essentially, wholesome Indian nutrients, dal, chawal, chana, and package that up in the form of pasta. So a nourishing Indian meal in fancy Italian clothes, bit like Ranveer Singh. That was a goal. And that's how we started with pasta. We sent out samples to all our friends, all our family to get their feedback, and to many, many people who we hoped would invest. Many of them did, which is why we are here today. And that's how we had our first product of launch. Step 2, once you have the product, how do you sell it? The first thing for us to target was online, because that's the easiest place to sell your products. Now, the way we see online is there are 3 distinct segments. The lowest hanging fruit, your own website. Plenty of platforms out there. There's Shopify, there's WooCommerce, there's Magento, so on and so forth. Built our own website, started selling on it. At the same time, approached the marketplaces. When I say marketplaces, I mean large e-commerce channels such as Amazon and Flipkart. Relatively easy to get listed on them. There are many, many ways of selling on Amazon, for example. You could do FBA, you could do ARIPL, and each of them have their advantage and disadvantage, and you have to figure out for your product, this is the size, the dimensions, the velocity at which it moves, what's the right way for you to go ahead. So these were the first 2 things. The third one, back in 21, this was very nascent, I think, and now has become a massive driver of revenue for us, are the Q-commerce platforms. So Swiggy, Instamart, Blinkit, these guys today drive a phenomenal amount of sales for us on online channels. This is also the hardest platform to get listed on, because in Amazon, it's fairly easy. But with these guys, you have to show traction. You have to show that what you're selling will work. And that's why following the step of building your own website and going on e-commerce gives you the data to present to them, to show them that, look, this is the kind of demographics I serve. These are the pin codes where my sales are happening at. You overlap with us in these segments, and so here's a win-win situation for us to do. And that's how we went with them, and that's how our sales went up with them. So if there's anyone here from these Q-com platforms, thank you guys, we love you. But getting listed is okay. Becoming visible, of course, is a matter of spending money, advertising and all. What is hard is staying visible, ensuring visibility. With your website, straightforward, right? You tie up with a supply chain partner, Borzo, for example, give them a list of pin codes, and you can ship wherever you want. With Amazon, they have their fulfillment centers. One fulfillment center will serve a large part of India. You get there, you serve India. With quick commerce, though, it's very, very different. Because their model, of course, is delivery within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, which means there are thousands of dark stores. Each dark store has a very limited range, between 3 to 10 kilometers. So you need to ensure that your product is there at thousands of these dark stores, and that replenishment happens on a frequent enough basis. Because if that doesn't happen, you might be listed on Blinkit, you might be listed on Instamart, but at most of your important pin codes, you will not show on stock. So how do you do that? There are softwares out there that help you do this. We use one called Go Perceptive. What they have is a crawler. You give them a list of pin codes that you want them to crawl, and you give them a list of SKUs that you want them to track. Their crawlers will then crawl through all these Q-commerce platforms for those pin codes, for those SKUs, and every single day give a report like this, showing which of your SKUs is in stock and which of them are out of stock. This, your team needs to diligently keep following up with them, saying, hey guys, for 2 days running, we have been out of stock at these places. Can you please push a PO to us so we can ship goods to you, so we can be in stock, so your sales go up, our sales go up. It's a win-win situation, right? We can't ever rest when it comes to e-commerce. It's a constant push to make sure your products are visible. That was how we took on e-commerce. Once, after about 12 to 18 months, we believed we had a reasonable presence in e-com. The next challenge, of course, was to tackle the beast in India of offline retail. This is where many, many brands are built. This is also where thousands of brands have their graveyards, because this is a behemoth. How do you bring your online experience offline without burning too much cash? The same processes. Getting listed with retailers is tough, but if you have traction online, if you have showed what your products can do, That's how you open a conversation with them, telling them that, hey guys, this is my core demographic. This is the kind of velocity that my products have. These are the kind of pin codes that I service. Your stores have the same demographics. This is where your stores are present. We should be listed at your store. And that's sort of how getting listed starts. Getting listed also has listing fees involved. If anyone's done retail, you will know. That's a pretty heavy expense for a startup. The way we try to optimize it is we convert the conversation from being around listing fees to being around visibility. Retailers have a target where they need to get that much amount of funds upfront from a brand getting listed, right? But a listing fee is a dead end. Instead of just listing, ask for end caps, which is what this is, that boosts your visibility. Ask for an FSU, a freestanding unit. Ask for in-store promotions where you can do wet sampling of your goods to consumers. So you will still spend that money, but instead of sinking it down as a listing fee, you will be using that money productively to grow your outreach and to build more consumer interactions with retailers. And that's how you sort of bring your online experience offline. Getting listed, again, is the easy part, I believe. Becoming visible is this conversation of how do you convert just being on shelf to being an FSU or having an end cap. The challenge, though, in the long run, is you can't keep spending on promotions like this forever, right? You can't be cash negative forever. How do you stay visible? And staying visible entails having your own team of merchandisers that go from store to store to see where are your goods kept. Are they at eye level or not? If you have run out, are they replenishing it from the back end or not? If the back end is out, are they pushing forward a PO or not? The same process that we do for online has to be done for offline with feet on the street. Instead of software trackers, you have manual trackers that go to store, key stores, and make sure this is happening. So it's a very involved process, but that's what it takes to make sure that your brand stays visible. So those are the kind of the 3 steps within offline retail as well. To make it interactive, a quick 3 steps, right? Getting listed, getting visible, staying visible. Any takers? What's the hardest one? So Wicked Gud hamper for the right answer. Staying visible, yes. Coming to you. Hamper right after this. Catch up with me. Absolutely right. So getting listed, tough. Getting visible, tough, but again, a matter of money. Staying visible month in and month out requires effort from you, from your team. Can't sit back and relax. Otherwise, that shelf space will be eaten up by someone else. So this is getting offline. The other challenge that you have to keep in mind with being offline is taking it slow. As startup founders, it is very, very tempting for us to push products out as much as we can, right? To be listed at as many stores as we can. It boosts our sales. We feel good about it. But a couple of months later, if your products have not moved off the shelves, the vendors are going to do an RTV, which is return your products back to you. If you're in the food space like we are, your products have a shelf life. They're expiring. You have to get rid of them. Massive costs, logistics, destruction. If you have a cold chain, then a whole different challenge. So you have to be careful with the kind of retailers you tie up with. That is Bhuman with Mr. Damodar Mal, the CEO of Reliance Retail. We kind of figured out that with our products, Reliance was a great partner to go with. And it was a courtship that took a couple of months before we could actually partner with them. But that has been a very fulfilling journey. So it wasn't a matter of just listing everywhere we could, but taking our time, finding the right partners, and then listing there. Similarly with distribution, you have to be careful. There are 3 ways of distributing your products. The hardest, do it yourselves. If you have your own experience, if you've done this before, you'll have to set up a team. National sales manager, regional sales managers below them, area sales manager below them, looking after sales officers, merchandisers, promoters, all across the country. Massive expense, massive headache, but in the long run, that's the right way to build a brand. A shortcut is that there are many companies that do this for you. There's one that we're working with in certain areas called the go-to-market. There are quite a few others, you'll find them online, that take care of all this hassle for you. What we are doing is a hybrid. There are segments of India where we are very strong in, so we have our own teams for it. There are parts of India where we are not strong in, and that's why we partner with someone to handle the entire distribution chain for us. So take your time, don't rush, don't spray and pray. build with diligence. That's the fourth step. Uh, Take very quick time here. So when you do offline sales, right, there are three metrics we track. Primary sales is what you sell to the distributor. This is what you show in your books as revenue. This is what you raise money on. So it's great to push this number high, but this is not the number that you should be focusing on. Secondary sales is what your distributor sells to the retailer, right? Which is important for them because you don't want a distributor holding on to goods, otherwise they'll just stop ordering from you. The real focus and the hardest thing to track is tertiary sales. What is the offtake of your products from the retailer? Any modern trade store like Reliance will share this data with you if you ask for it. So ask for it, track it, and drive it. Because if your tertiary sales are not driven, the entire supply chain will collapse. You'll just be overstocked. Your distributors will wipe your hands off one day and say, hey, I'm returning everything to you. Here's a massive debit note. And that's a lose-lose situation for everyone. Moving on to the last point, and the important one is, as a startup, our funds are limited, right? Our funds are our lifeline. How do you compete with massive players there in terms of advertising and creating a presence? You have to make your money work harder than anyone else does. For us, there were a few ways of doing it. We got the opportunity of being on Shark Tank, which was, of course, very helpful for outreach. We got Shilpa Shetty as our brand ambassador, and she's been phenomenal in driving our growth. She's very, very hands-on with the brand. Obviously, as a brand, you can't afford to pay a big name like that. But what a startup has that is more powerful than money is equity. As long as you're willing to part with some equity, you don't just get a celebrity on board, you get a partner on board who's invested in your growth as well. So that has helped. We did a small pivot with Reliance where we set up a live noodle counter, like a QSR. So we're a packaged food brand. This is not what we do, but it was an interesting pivot to drive sales, to drive awareness, where people come in the store, our team whips up all kinds of fancy stuff with the pastas, with the noodles, with the hakka, serves it to consumers. You get your sampling done, you get your visibility done, and the costs are very limited. So things like this, constant innovation, you have to be asking yourself, how do I make my money work harder than anyone else's? And be creative with that. That's sort of the fifth step in driving sales and presence. If anyone can answer these 5 steps again, there'll be a massive, massive Wicked Gud hamper. Any takers? Anyone? No? Fair enough. It would be challenging for me to repeat them as well. 50-50 chance I'll forget one, but here's a shot. Step 1, yes. Are you gonna, oh, you're reading from slides. I love it. Go for it. Right? Right?
Sir.
There's a mic there, yeah.
Thank you. Step 3 is bring the online experience offline.
Correct?
Step 4, definitely there was a quiz in between, so I am not going to read that. Step 4 was approach distribution channels.
Right.
And with patience and diligence. And the last step definitely is outshine with multinational and creative marketing.
Brilliant. 10 on 10. You should be right up front and center.
Maybe next time for sure. Thank you.
Done and done. Indeed. So those are at least our journey. Now, obviously, it's not one shoe size fits all. Everyone here will have their own journeys to take. But I just thought of sharing our experience on how we built this brand from there to here. The last thought I'll leave you with, I think it's been said enough today. Innovation, innovation, innovation. Even if you have a runaway product, can't sit back and enjoy on our laurels. Have to keep coming up with new products. So for us, for example, we just launched cup noodles, launching Korean noodles, Korean cup noodles. Down a few months, we'll be launching a few more products with the same DNA in all of them. How do we take junk, re-engineer it, and unjunk it? Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Shariq. I must say that was a wicked good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing those insights. I'd like to invite from the Borzo team, Survi and Kushbu, to please present Shariq with a token of our gratitude for his time. And yes, we will be taking questions with Shariq in just a moment, right after we present him with our token of thanks. it would be lovely if you could just join me. Let's go down to the ground floor, closer to the audience. And I'm sure there are many questions. Hands are already going up. Can we get the mic to the lady there, please? There's your mic.
Hi, Shariq. It was a brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
And congratulations for putting all your efforts and building a brand.
Thank you so much.
I just had there's no question, but I would love to connect you with Nature's Basket and Food Square. I know the owner, Lalit Zaveri, if you know,
Right.
from Food Square. I can
course.
get you connected with him. Let's speak after this.
That would be my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank
Great,
you so much.
but
Thank you for that.
requesting you all, let's please stick to questions and we must make connections, but
Yeah,
off the
sorry.
stage. Please go ahead, sir. Can we get the mic?
Hi, wonderful presentation, loved it. I just want to know that with respect to sourcing your products, do you do it everything in-house or you depend on third party? And what is the right approach for a startup? Is it good to go for third party manufacturing and then shift to your own production or continue the third party route? What do you suggest?
Right, so that's an interesting question. It depends on your product. If what you're doing is so unique that sometimes there aren't any contract manufacturers for it, you might have to just set up your own. But for a startup, again, funds is your lifeline, it's your oxygen. So CapEx, as far as can be limited, in my experience, is better. If you can find the right partner with decades of manufacturing experience who's willing to take a bet. We were lucky enough, the people we work with, we are outsourcing a lot of our contract manufacturing. For the pasta line, we're working with one of the largest pasta manufacturers in India. And for him, our entire output is essentially a decimal point error in his entire manufacturing operations. But he's so convinced with our story, with what we're doing, that he's set up a line for us to do the kind of work we want to do because he believes it will grow and be massive in the future. So if you believe in your story so much that you can convince your vendors to work with you, to invest on your behalf, I think that's probably the best solution because they have a lot of expertise which you don't need to bother building up. And you save your CapEx, which you can invest in marketing and drive the flywheel of sales.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank
that
you so much.
answers.
Thank you. I think we'll go to my right of the room, please. I think there's a question there.
Hi Shariq, that's a brilliant presentation.
Thank you.
So just wanted to ask how Wicked Good is a brilliant name. So how Wicked Good name come across? Okay. And second, you said you offer equity to Shilpa Shetty. So what is these celebrities? What is the criteria they accept equity based? This one. That's what I wanted to understand.
Sure. Both good questions. So the Wicked Good name is one of those things, again, that takes a lot of time to just think and come up with something. We were thinking, what is it we're trying to do? We are trying to take something that is considered wicked, right? A lot of the junk food categories like instant noodles and convert them into something good. And so that's why we said, let's call it Wicked Good. But there were many connotations along with it. You know, it's wickedly tasty, but still good for you, and so on and so forth. And our target was, of course, Gen Z. We are targeting young children. So we wanted to have a more fun and engaging name. And that's sort of how Wicked Good came in. In terms of celebrity endorsements, so we got Shilpa on board after we reached a certain scale, which means the value of your shares is significant. If you do it too early in the game, you risk diluting too much. Once you have built to a certain scale where the value of your equity is enough, you can afford to dilute a few percentage points in single digits in lieu of them coming on board. Now, there are many give and takes that have to happen, right? The contract has to be bulletproof. You need to have a good lawyer on your side. They'll have one. What your ask is in terms of how many times they need to come and represent your brand, how many activities they'll do for you, how all will they promote you, depends on celebrity to celebrity. Everyone brings their own strengths to the table. So that sort of, again, is an iterative process. Selecting a celebrity for us was a lot like our initial process of figuring out our recipe, which was we actually had 4 or 5 shortlisted. We went to all our investors, we went to some of our key customers, we shared the list, we took their feedback, and we aligned on the one who we thought was integral to our vision of promoting our brand to health-conscious moms, to kids, which of course Shilpa was just the right image. So that's sort of how it was an iterative process, not a I feel this is right, but what does everyone collectively feel is right, and that's sort of how we did it.
Thank you, Shariq. Thank you.
Thanks for
That was my
articulating
answer.
that. One final question. I think we'll take it from that corner. If we can get the mic there, please.
Hello, hi. So my question was that since in Wicked Good, do you all do performance marketing? Because if you all do this, my question was, how do you ensure that there are no click frauds? Because a lot of the times it said you only pay for conversions, but due to bots, there's a lot of inflation that happens, and then your cost per click is unnecessarily inflated, and then that's added, which is creating a complete havoc. So how do you ensure, if you are doing performance marketing, this doesn't happen? Well, I consider it unethical, like the performance marketing. For me, I don't. That's why I just wanted to know your views about it.
Fair enough. So we do performance marketing, and you're right, there are a lot of these challenges, pitfalls in performance marketing. The same logic for us applies in performance marketing, which is every day. So we do lots of A/B testing in performance marketing, right? Various ads we will run on various platforms with minor tweaks to see what is doing what is the conversion rate, how many click-throughs are actually going through sales. And this we track on a daily basis. So every day in the morning, yesterday's performance is presented. The second we feel that on a particular platform, a particular type of ad is not generating the kind of click-through rate that we like, or the CTR is not resulting in sales conversions, that's where we pull the plug on that ad, which sort of mitigates the loss that any clickbait like that could have had with bots clicking it repeatedly and stuff like that. If, on the other hand, we took a laid-back approach and said, we'll see at the end of the month what's happening, you are absolutely right. A lot of our money would have just been flushed down the drain. But being proactive, monitoring it on a daily basis, helps us modify and keep our focus on the right ads that perform well for us. I hope that answers the question, yeah?
Thank you once again for all your questions, audience. Let's just give a huge round of applause once again to Shariq for being such a sport and answering all of them. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me here.